Hello students, uh, I'm back with the business ethics lecture. So in the last lecture we were covering total quality management. So we had discussed what is total quality management, how total quality management is achieved, and I had shared a few examples of total quality management. Now, then we were on to the 8 principles of total quality management, in which we had discussed the first two ones. The first one was customer focused. So I said that total quality management can the sole purpose basically of total quality management is to give a good experience, a better experience to the customer. So uh, so you have to be customer focused when you are trying to achieve total quality management. Then second we had discussed was that there should be a total employee involvement. So so unless and until there is a total employee involvement, will not be able to achieve total quality. So from the basic level to the top level, from all the departments involved and all the employees who are working in the organization have to work towards the common goal, then only, and they have to work as a team, then for continuous improvement, then we can achieve the total quality management, the goal of total quality management. Then the third one is process centered. So the total quality management is basically focused on process thinking. So what is a process? A process is a series of steps that take inputs from suppliers, and supplier can be external or internal, and then transform them into outputs that are delivered to customer. And again, depending on the and the kind of work you are doing, it can, again, the customer can be internal or external. So these steps, these series of steps are defined, and there are performance measures against all these steps, and these are continuously monitored to in order to detect unexpected variations. So if we have a series like first there is step A, step B, step C, step C, step D, and so on. So till the final step, there should not be any hindrance, any obstacle, or there should not also be a variance or a deviation in this step, because all these uh, all these steps are defined and the process is also defined. So and there is a performance measure against all these steps. Then the fourth thing is integrated system. So basically the organization, most of the organization consists of many different functions. So and they are organized vertically, and it is the horizontal processes interconnecting these functions that are focus of TQM. So the focus of TQM is basically the horizontal processes which are connecting the departments with each other. So although the departments are structured in a vertical way, but the TQM focuses on basically the, so since we are saying that teamwork, so that's why teamwork is there, because the TQM focuses on the horizontal connection of these departments or these functions. Then the next one is a strategic and systematic approach. Uh, so a critical part of quality is uh, to uh, to see the strategic and systematic approach in achieving an organization's vision, mission, and goals. So, when you are trying to achieve the organization's goals or visions and mission, your strategic management should be good. Your strategizing, so strategizing happens at the top level, so and then it is implemented by the middle and lower management. So you should have a very good strategic management process, and you should have a systematic approach. Then only you will be able to achieve TQM. Then continuous improvement, we have already seen that TQM is basically a process which thrives on continuous improvement. So basically, continuous improvement drives an organization to be both analytical and creative in finding ways to be more competitive and more effective at meeting stakeholder expectation. So stakeholders in most of the cases will be the mostly it will be the end customers, and there will be other people also. But with continuous improvement, so and without analytical and creative thinking, you can never be you cannot have continuous improvement. So as I had said in the previous lecture that when you are making quality products and you are making good products, you have customer loyalty, and the customer is satisfied with your product or services. He expects continuous improvement from you. So you have to focus on continuous. So you have always have to raise your bar. And how that can happen? That can happen only if you are thinking analytically and if you are creative. Then only you can have continuous improvement. Then the next one is fact-based decision making. So whatever decisions you are making, whether it is strategic decision making, or you are trying to improve something, or you are trying to change the process, so all these things need to be based on facts. So you cannot go by gut feeling, or you cannot go by intuition, or and all these things. So you have to be make your decision on facts, because when you have facts to back yourself, so then your decision making will be accurate. It will be it will be able to predict. Based on the past history, you can predict something, and you will achieve consensus also. Why this will happen? Because when you collect facts, when you collect data, you analyze the data, and then when you're if you are doing the analysis correctly, then all these things will automatically be covered. So whether it is accuracy, whether it is predictions, and all these things will automatically be correct and in line. So this one is fact-based decision making. And the last one is communications. So communication, as we all know, that communication is the backbone of any organization. And if effective communication is there, then there will never be any issue in the organization. So whether it is making strategies, whether it is timeliness, whether it is any department, as sales or productive or production or manufacturing or accounts department or the employees internally, if there is effective communication between the employees, between the level of managements, between the various departments, then total quality management will be achieved. So this was the last uh, principle of TQM. So I'll just revise once again what are the eight principles of TQM. First is customer focus, second is total employee involvement, then process centered, then integrated system, then strategic and systematic approach, then continuous improvement, then fact-based decision making, and last but not the least, communication. So this was all about principles of TQM. So that brings to an end to the topic TQM. Now let's look at some softer issue, which is quality of life. And this will also be the last topic for this unit. So what is quality of life? So it is basically a measure of happiness, but it is very subjective, and it is also an important component of many financial decisions. So the factors that play a role in quality of life vary according to the personal preferences, but more often than not, they include financial security, job satisfaction, family life, health, and safety. So financial decisions usually involve a trade-off where quality of life is decreased in order to save money, or conversely, quality of life is increased by spending more money. So as I said, that quality of life is actually measuring how happy you are. So the more happy you are, it is supposed that the better quality of life you are living, but it is very subjective. So, for example, if for me, maybe earning my salary, doing my job properly, and spending a good time in the evening with my family members, and once in a while going out and owning a car and owning my house is brings me happiness. Maybe for some other person, it will be having a BMW car, or working in a high profile job in a very big company will make him happy. So it actually varies from person to person. So for example, for a maybe a poor laborer, for him, happiness will bring him that if he gets a permanent job. So he's doing a daily wages job, and if he gets a permanent job where he's earning a salary, that can bring him happiness. So then he thinks that he has got good quality of life. So again, but what happens is that normally, uh, it is often, as I have given in examples also, it more often than not, it is the financial security, job satisfaction, family life, health, and safety. So, for example, and all these criteria are there, but maybe at a different ratio in people. But these factors are there. So, for example, if somebody is a millionaire, but his health is not good, then we will not say that. So he has the financial security, he has the job satisfaction, but his health is not good. Then his quality of life is not good because he is not happy. Similarly, there is a person uh, whose health is good, who has financial security, who has job satisfaction, but he is a divorcee. His wife has divorced him, and she has taken his children also along with her. Then again, since happiness is not there, his life is not good, of good quality. So when all these are major things which actually affect the quality of life, because they are affecting your happiness. So when you have a balance of all these things, then your quality of life is considered good because you are happy. So you have enough financial security, you are in a good job, your family, your parents, your wife, your brothers and sisters, your children, you are living happily with them. You have good relationship with everyone. You are healthy. You do not have any long-term disease. So by healthy, we mean that so normal fever and all happens to everybody. By healthy, we means that you do not have a long-term disease like a heart. You are not a heart patient. You are not diabetic. You do not have spondylitis. You do not have. So all these are long-term diseases which you carry for the lifelong, and your lifestyle is also restricted. So, for example, I am diabetic and I cannot eat sweets. So, I have money, I have everything, but I want to eat ice cream, but I cannot eat ice cream. So, that is one. So, that makes me unhappy, or it has some other implications for me. Like, for example, I'm not being able to play sports or some or the other thing. Then it is not considered healthy. So there is one factor. So when you have all these things, then you are considered living a healthy and happy life. Your quality of life is good. Now let's break down the quality of life. So now they've taken one example. It says that commuting to work provides a good example. So basically, it is possible to save money on housing by living further away from popular job centers and commuting to work. However, commuters don't have as much time to spend with family or on hobbies because of the extra time spent sitting in traffic. Some people consider this trade-off worthwhile, while others choose to maximize their quality of life by spending more money to live closer to work. So, very good example. So, so I'll take my example only. I live around 20 kilometers away from BPT, and every day I spend close to 1.5 hours while traveling from home to work. So what is happening is, and I am spending money on petrol. I am spending money on my car or bike for its maintenance because it is running this much. I am wasting so much of time, and I am like facing the traffic and all the traffic related issues. I am going through pollution, and so all the hazards are there. So what can be, and there are few people in my department or in my university who are living close to university. So but what is happening is that, so it is basically a trade off. So for someone stay, so, and I say, for example, my house is in the heart of the city. So the railway station, all the marketplaces and hospitals and airport, everything is close by to my house. So and but on the contrary, every day I have to travel 1.5 hours, facing all the consequences of the traveling. So I like this way that okay, I have to commute this much every day, but it's better to live in the heart of the city. But for some people who are staying close by, they think that okay, traveling every day is an issue. So you have, so for example, railway station or airport or markets, you have to go once in a while. So it's better to save the time every day and spend that time by relaxing or spending the time with your family instead of wasting it in travel every day. So that is one example of quality of life, how different perspectives work. So see, likewise, while doing personal savings, so some people what they do is they keep on saving, and they will not spend on their like, so they will not buy expensive things, or they will not go for vacations and all, and they will save everything for the future. But at the same time, there are people who will live in present. They will spend everything. They will buy lavish goods. They will go on holidays and all that, and buy expensive clothes and things, and they will eat out, and they will live in present. So this is another example of quality of life and safe when you are doing savings for your uh, personal use. Then there is another thing called quality of work life. Quality of work life is basically the kind of life you are living in the professional environment. So again, here also some people uh, like to give attention to human values, that how you are being treated. Some people give attention to salary and other aspects. So again, it depends from person to person. It varies from person to person. So now let's look at the definition of what HR says about quality of work life. So these days, quality of work life has gained a considerable amount of interest and importance. So and now it is being there are terms which are being used as humanization of work, quality of working life, participative work, etc. So now here I'm giving you few steps to improve the quality work life. So uh, I'll just take you through. These are easy. Spend some time with employee and together conduct an audit of the work. Get the inside metrics. So basically, you are paying very close attention to the details. Then the next one is take it one task at a time. So normally this is very interesting. Now normally what people do is that they think that okay, there is too much of work and they panic. But when you take one task at a time based on the priority, that eases out your work, and then you are able to take check one box at a time. So if you have six tasks at the start of the day, and you are panicking that okay, I have to do so much of work in 8 hours, 9 hours. But when you prioritize it and you according to the deadline, you work on them and take one task at a time, it becomes easier. Now the third one is look at the employees every concrete action in process. So whatever the employee is doing, you should basically check it step by step and see what is the best way to do it and do accordingly. Then then the next one is checklist. We have already covered this, that you have to make if you make a checklist of what all you have to, and this last in the last mm, point we had discussed for a single day. So you can make a checklist for a month or maybe a quarter or whatever your deadlines are, and then accordingly you should work with a checklist. So you will feel less burdened, and when you will check that job that it is done, you will have you will feel some kind of achievement in your role. And also it will help you uh, to basically have further conversations, and so that you have that checklist. So you will know that after 6 months you will know that okay, you had done this and this thing on this and this day. Then the fifth one is uh, if you are already following the best practices, then also look for pitfalls, that basically the obstacles or errors that you can make. So that will also because then you will not be prone to errors, or so that will help you to and when you make errors, then what happens is that you feel burdened mentally and physically both. So if you're looking for pitfalls, if you're looking for errors initially only, you're trying to figure out what is going wrong or what can go wrong, then you are basically preparing yourself for the worst. Then finally, the last one is that choose one concrete action at a time to make error free and take it slowly. So again, you should be focused at one step at a time. So first you have to prioritize your work. So if you have 6 things to do, you prioritize that, okay, first I'll do this because इसका deadline सबसे करीब है, ठीक है? So when you pick that work, then you have to again step by step you will have to concentrate on that. So when you are do so, for example, there you are doing a job, first job you pick up, you there are 6 steps involved there, A B C D E F G. So now what you will do is that you will first do A. Once A is complete, then you will have to, then you will move to B and then C and then D. What will this happen is what will happen is that since you are concentrating on one step only at a given point of time, then there are very less chances of making an error. Contrary to this, if you start looking at A, B, C, D, E, F all at one time, then you will get confused and there are many chances or high chances of making an error. So students, this was all about work-life balance.